Traveling through history can often be a bumpy experience, particularly when it centers on a figure as complicated and divisive as Joseph Stalin. This guy, who was born in Georgia, ascended from modest beginnings to become one of the most influential individuals of the 20th century, turning the Soviet Union into a global powerhouse. On the other hand, widespread terror and ruthless repression characterized his tenure. Let's examine the life and legacy of one of the most infamous people in history, Joseph Stalin. Born in Gori, a little Georgian village in the Russian Empire, in 1878. His early years were a difficult study in survival. He was born as Iosif Vissarionovich Juvishvili, the son of a washerwoman and a cobbler who had both been serfs in a previous life. Poverty, domestic abuse, and recurrent illnesses plagued his upbringing, with smallpox leaving a permanent scar on his face. Young Stalin was a gifted poet and assiduous student who won a scholarship to the Tbilisi Theological Seminary, a far cry from the cruel political landscape he would later rule. During these early years, when he was deeply absorbed in his studies and motivated by a sense of rebellion, the seeds of revolution began to sprout in his thoughts. He was not receptive to the strict regulations and religious indoctrination of the seminary, which ultimately resulted in his expulsion and opened the door for his involvement in the extreme politics of the day. During his seminary years, Stalin became interested in Marxist philosophy and was lured to the revolutionary fire of the Bolsheviks, a faction within the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party led by the charismatic Vladimir Lenin. Although gaining party leadership was not a simple feat, Stalin proved himself with his unwavering organizational prowess and brutal pragmatism. Even while they helped him advance in the party, these qualities would ultimately define his leadership style and form the basis of his authority over the Soviet Union. The panorama of Soviet politics changed dramatically after Vladimir Lenin's death in 1924. Capitalizing on this void, Stalin engaged in a cunning game of political manipulation, establishing himself as Lenin's legitimate successor. Stalin, known for his organizational skills, cemented power by marginalizing possible challenges like Leon Trotsky and steadily increasing his authority inside the party. By the late 1920s, Stalin had established himself as the unchallenged leader of the Soviet Union. His ascent was propelled by a planned personality cult in addition to his shrewd political maneuvering. Stalin's carefully constructed image presented him as a man of the people and the personification of communist principles. During his time as General Secretary, a post that was at first thought to be unimportant, he was able to direct the party apparatus and install loyalists in important roles. From this point on, he skillfully negotiated the intricate terrain of Soviet politics, guaranteeing his unstoppable ascent to power. The Soviet Union saw a significant economic transformation when Stalin was in power. Stalin's ambitious tactics of rapid industrialization and agricultural collectivization paved the ground for the transformation of peasant society into a military and industrial powerhouse. But these audacious plans weren't without repercussions. Stalin's economic reforms ushered in a period of profound change and catapulted the Soviet Union into the position of superpower on the international scene. Stalin was a key player in the complex game of power, strategy, and survival that was World War II. Stalin was first stunned by the course of events when Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union in 1941, breaking the terms of the Non-Aggression Treaty. But he bounced back quickly, taking on the mantle of Supreme Commander and personally supervising strategic choices. Under Stalin's leadership, the Soviet Red Army launched an unrelenting counteroffensive after suffering severe territory losses in a terrible start. Known for not caring about the hue and cost to accomplish his goals, Stalin's tactics resulted in significant deaths, but ultimately forced the German soldiers to retreat. Stalin facilitated the negotiation of post-war borders and laid the groundwork for Soviet domination in Eastern Europe as a major participant in the Yalta and Potsdam conferences. A story about Stalin would not be complete without exploring the shadowy aspects of his repressive rule. The notorious purges served as a symbol of the fear and paranoia that characterized his government. This horrifying campaign, especially the Great Purge of the 1930s, swept the Soviet Union, resulting in millions of people being executed and imprisoned. Political enemies were killed, Dissident voices were brutally stifled, and a culture of terror was entrenched. Stalin's terrifying rule was more than just a period of time. It was a reign of terror. The fall of Stalin in 1953 marked a turning point in world affairs. Nonetheless, his legacy continues to spark lively discussion. His bold economic policies thrust the Soviet Union into the international scene, but it is impossible to overlook the horrific human cost they exacted. Numerous lives were lost during his period of unrelenting fear and brutal persecution. Thus, Stalin's legacy lives on long after his death, influencing discussions about his significance and leaving a lasting mark on history. Please subscribe to our channel if you want to see more amazing videos like this one. Press the bell symbol to get immediate notifications so you don't miss anything. Watch this space for fascinating updates and a never-ending supply of interesting videos.